The draw for the Champions League quarterfinals has just been made, and there are some tasty fixtures. As a matter of fact, all of them are tasty fixtures. We are at the business end of the competition right now, and it's hard to see any of these teams not being able to cause any problems in the competition. As a matter of fact, they earned it. Every single team that has made it to this point has earned it. And while you might think of some of them as underdogs, and on the other side, you might look at Manchester City or Real Madrid and Bayern Munich as relative royalty in this competition, all these sides can cause a lot of problems. I am happy that these boys have made it to this part, and it was in a very, very hard competition against Porto, but we managed to make it all the way through. I'm going to try and preview some of these games and see where potential slip-ups can happen, who are the strongest team in the competition, and who could win it all at the end. But anyway, guys, it's your boy Izzy. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and the subscribe button to let YouTube and everybody else know that you are enjoying this content. Now, I know you haven't seen me in a while. I've been battling the axial and the appendicular skeleton, and I've been also trying to find out what vertical and horizontal asymptotes are. But anyways, I've had a lot of assignments, but that does not mean that I don't have any time for you guys. I am here. Let's get it started. Now, the first game is a game that's going to be very close and dear to my heart. It's going to be Arsenal. We managed to pull out Bayern Munich. There are a lot of storylines around this game. Not least of all, Harry Kane going back to England, hoping that he can try and knock out Arsenal to make his Tottenham Hotspur fans just as happy as he would be. Now, Arsenal are a very strong side. We might not have seen the best of Arsenal against Porto. Porto are a very good side. They managed to hold Arsenal at the Dragao to no shots on target, and they caused a lot of problems when they went to the Emirates. They surprised Arsenal by pressing very high, something that we haven't seen a lot of opponents do. A lot of the teams recently have been dead and buried against Arsenal in the first 20 to 25 minutes of the game, but they managed to put a lot of stress on this Arsenal team. But we managed to see Odegaard and co rise above it and make it to the next round of the competition. They were gifted with Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is a team that has caused Arsenal so much pain in the recent past. Who can forget the symmetrical thumpings that they gave us? 5-1 at home, 5-1 away. It was a very tough period to be an Arsenal fan at that point. The banter was unlimited, and the fact that Arsene Wenger, a man that had tried to build this club in his image with the philosophy of beautiful football, had seen it been torn apart right in front of him. But now Bayern Munich are not in their best phase, and we have seen them struggle in their league. They are second to Bayer Leverkusen. They're 10 points behind, and it looks as though they might not end this season with a trophy if they get knocked out of this competition. This represents their last best opportunity at anything. And when you look at the quality of the opposition that's around them, it's going to be very hard for them to make it past not only Arsenal, but if they make it to the semifinal stage, Manchester City or Real Madrid. So it's looking as though it's going to be a very tough time for Thomas Tuchel. He's also leaving at the end of the season, as far as the reports came out and said. So it's not going to be very easy for these players to get themselves up, or for Thomas Tuchel to get his charges up for the game and to possibly enforce whatever he wants to say. It depends on whether he's going to be a sitting duck coach at the end of the season. And if it continues in the same vein as it's been so far, it's going to be very hard to see them even beating Manchester City or Real Madrid if they make it past Arsenal. Arsenal are on the run of ending a lot of hoodoos. They managed to get a round of 16 hoodoo out of their way. They managed to get their mid-season slump out of their way. And this represents an opportunity for revenge, trying to get back at this Bayern Munich team that has knocked them out of the Champions League on a number of occasions. Not only just that, they are also going to be facing Harry Kane and Eric Dyer. So there's added impetus into this game. The fact that Arsenal have made it this far and have made it this far in their first round back in the Champions League speaks a lot to what Mikel Arteta and the revolution that is going on at Arsenal is speaking to. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to come out of this game. I do slightly favor my Arsenal side to get past Bayern Munich, and not just because of my bias towards Arsenal, but I do think that Arsenal are playing some good football right now, and they represent a side that is upward in their trajectory. And when you look at Bayern Munich, they are slightly downward in their trajectory, or if you want to be gracious to them, they have probably plateaued, because even their defense of the German league last season was not very convincing. They managed to win it at the end, but they only won it because Borussia Dortmund slumped towards the end. And when you look at this season, they've been far and away the second best side in the Bundesliga, and Bayer Leverkusen, who are looking to stop their own hoodoo of not winning any trophies, are looking towards their first Bundesliga trophy. And if they can hold off Bayern Munich for the rest of the season, it's going to be a very tough call for Bayern Munich to try and win anything this season. And so at the end of the day, I'm going to go for Arsenal. I think that right now the vibes are very good in the Arsenal camp. The vibes are not the best at the Bayern Munich camp, but you don't want to think that Bayern Munich are going to lie down and die. This is a 7-time European champion. These guys have pedigree, and they have a lot of the people who have known to take care of business in the past, including taking care of Arsenal. In the next game, we have Real Madrid against Manchester City. This is going to be a very interesting game, and they are both pitted against each other again for the third season in a row. And I do recall Real Madrid getting the better of them the season before, and then last season Manchester City were able to get the better of them and get the better of them convincingly by beating them 4-0 at the Etihad Stadium. And so it's going to be a very tough fixture for both sides. Manchester City are far and away the best team in Europe and the best team in the Premier League as well. And so when you look at what they are able to do and what Pep Guardiola wants his team to do, he always tries to get them in a very rigid formation. He wants his players to play a certain type of football. On the other side, Carlo Ancelotti is known as a free-flowing manager. He has a lot of input from his players, and he is much more of a person who lets his team go out there and express themselves. So it's going to be interesting to see the battles between Vinny Jr. yet again against Kyle Walker, and to look at what Bellingham has been able to do so far this season and whether he's going to be able to implement that against an English side again. So there's a lot of storylines behind this, and the fact that Manchester City draw Real Madrid again, it almost seems as though it's tradition now. Manchester City are still building up their European rapport. Real Madrid are European royalty, and so this is going to be a fantastic game. And the winner of this is going to face the winner of Arsenal and Bayern Munich. So you know that this side is going to be extremely hard, and whoever is going to be able to get it is going to definitely be the favorites to take the whole competition. Now, on the other side, you have Atletico Madrid, and they are going to be facing Dortmund. Atletico are not having their most vintage season. They are trailing in La Liga to Real Madrid and to Girona, and at the same time, Barcelona, I think, are ahead of them. And so they are only just holding on to a Champions League spot, as far as I know. And when you look at Dortmund are also far off the pace when it comes to the Bundesliga. So this is going to be a tie that a lot of people have dubbed as the tie of the underdogs, and whoever is going to take this game to the next round, which is going to be the semifinal round, is definitely going to be the underdog in that game as well, and more than likely going to be the underdog when they face the team eventually in the final. But I do think that Atletico Madrid have the know-how, and they probably have the better of Dortmund over two legs. It's going to be a tie that's going to be very dependent on who wins the first leg. I think if Dortmund are going to be able to snatch something away from home, that they can take that to their home tie and feel very confident about it. But at the same time, Atletico Madrid are a team that know how to slug out fixtures. They are Porto in the next round with a better manager and a better team. So at the end of the day, I favor Atletico Madrid a little bit on this one. I think they have more pedigree in the competition. They are two-time finalists, despite losing both of them to Real Madrid. And I think that the know-how that Simeone has been able to carry season in, season out might be able to take them into the semifinal. Then in the very last one, we have PSG against Barcelona. Now, memories will come to your head about the remontada that happened all the way back in 2017, when Barcelona were able to overturn a 4-0 deficit against Unai Emery's PSG to end up winning the game 6-1. Happened to be the game that made Neymar feel as though he wanted to take the jump into PSG. So there are a lot of storylines that can go around. Anything that you want to build up in your head, whether it's the Kylian Mbappe, who is going to try and stop his potential new rival when he goes to Real Madrid. There's a lot of stuff that you can build in there. There's also the fact that Luis Enrique, who's a former Champions League winning manager with Barcelona, is coming back to the Camp Nou. So there's a lot of stuff that you can write about this game. It's a beautiful game. It's going to be interesting to watch. I do favor PSG only slightly, because I do think that Barcelona are slightly more into a transitional phase than PSG are. And PSG have been trying to rekindle their love for Paris, and they have been trying to sign a lot more Paris-born players, which is something that I encourage, because I think that PSG have underdeveloped a lot of the Parisian talents that they might have been able to call on. And you think about the vast amount of talent has been looked over by PSG over recent seasons, and the fact that France has had one of the biggest amount of talent over the last couple of decades, and that Paris hasn't built their team around that, is kind of wanting, in my opinion. Now they have the opportunity to rebuild, and they are trying to do it with Parisian talents. They have looked over the Galactico approach that they tried to take in the beginning of their takeover, and right now they seem to have settled on a pretty decent team. And I think that if PSG are able to get past Barcelona, they are still trying to make sure that they get that Champions League trophy at the end of the day. Manchester City beat them to it, but now they will be hoping that this might be their turn at it. And this is probably going to be Kylian Mbappe's last opportunity to bring something to Paris. And what a way to do it with a team that is not as gifted or as storied as the teams where you had your Messis and your Di Marias and your Neymars, but to be able to do it and pretty much say that you did it as the star of the team, which is what Kylian Mbappe seems to want, is going to be something that he can write home about before he goes to Real Madrid, which is the inevitable move that he's going to make. But anyway, guys, that is my preview or my review of the UCL draw. Let me know what you think. There are some tasty fixtures in here. I think that the pick of them is definitely going to be Manchester City against Real Madrid. And a lot of people would probably think that the winner of that is going to be the one who's going to take the whole competition. I do think that Arsenal have a very, very good chance of making it into the final if they continue the momentum that they have been having over the last couple of months. But Manchester City are a formidable side. And when you look at the other side, you never want to disrespect any of those teams by calling them the underdogs, which, of course, on paper, you would take a Manchester City or a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich before you would take a Dortmund. But at the end of the day, all these teams have earned their rights to make it to this point of the competition. And once you make it here, you never really know. And in a one-off game in the final, as people say, this is football. Anything can happen. In 90 minutes, we have seen teams surprise other teams so many times before. This season's competition doesn't have one of those teams that just glided into the semifinals who got there like Ajax or like Atalanta or maybe a Leipzig in recent seasons. Most of the teams that have made it here are pretty much the teams that you would have expected to because of the name that they carry. Arsenal might have been that team that has a wonderful story attached to it, but at the end of the day, they are still a team that is expected to perform on this stage, and I expect a lot of these teams to give each other a very tough game. But anyway, guys, it's great to talk to you guys again. It's your boy Izzy, and until the next review or preview, peace.